data, so I kind of, I get all the open data, linked data, all that kind of stuff, using data, trying to get people using it as much as possible. My role sits within the partnerships service, so that gives me access to all our kind of strategic, statutory partners, lots of different organisations. So it's kind of important when we talk about later on how we can pull data together. This is Trafford. Trafford, for those of you who don't know, that's in Greater Manchester, so we're just kind of south and west of Manchester city centre, complete supporting Borough. Okay, so InfoTrafford itself, we've got this kind of mission statement. We pull data from Trafford Council, we pull it from Greater Manchester Police, central government, lots of other partners we pull data from. We use it primarily, we have area profiles, some of the area profiles that some of the guys are speaking about today. We also use it to supply evidence when there's a consultation going on, so at the minute we've got a big consultation around secondary school places. We kind of analyse all secondary school places, push them out of the map and said to people, look, here's the evidence for what we're doing, go and have a look and use your own kind of judgments based on the data. We've got some dashboards that we're starting to knock up now, which are kind of higher level thematic dashboards around performance in various areas. And specific projects, we get involved in a lot of specific projects where Paul and I will support a project, we'll sit down and say, right, this is what we've got available that you can draw in as intelligence for your projects. So some of the stuff that we're going to get involved in, Trafford Assist, which is our local welfare crisis, we looked at people who were coming to the authority saying, I can't afford to feed myself, I can't afford to get a bus for a job interview. And we started to think about mapping those, so we mapped them and cross-referenced it with some other data sets, and we started to get a bit of intelligence about where we weren't getting as many people coming to us as we expected based on demographics, so it allowed us to do some targeted marketing, to say to people in those areas, look, this is available for you to come and access. We're just going to charity defense, and we'll talk about a bit of telecare, which is the kind of sensor-based, looking after old people so if they fall out of bed, they'll wet themselves and alarm us or somewhere. So that we know whether we're targeting the right areas. Channel shifts, so around analysis of who's accessing online services, who isn't, why aren't they? Is it because internet coverage in that area is not good? Turns out in some places it wasn't, so we put free Wi-Fi into libraries to allow them to come in and start to access counselling and services. Track partnerships, obviously our strategic partners. A lot of it's I'm going to talk about. I'm not going to go through all this. But we kind of, this is the sort of stuff that we get involved in. So there's a couple of us, and we go and we sit with these strategic leads or operational leads, depending on what they kind of need. We'll help them develop it, and the people know us in the area. So all these organisations know that we exist. The council, heads of service, operational leads, our voluntary sector, they know that we exist, so they know that they can come to us if they want some data or some support around cross-reference and intelligence. They know that they can come to us to help them out. Okay, so in terms of our site is InfoTrafford. The kind of sort of data that we've got around people interacting with us, we get about 900 visits a month. Average visit duration is just under 5 minutes, and we get just under 5,000 page views a month. So we don't know how that compares to other areas, but from our point of view, if we know that we're kind of touching, we think it's something around the region of 500-600 unique visitors. So we know that people are coming and trying to do something with the site, and it's kind of carrying time. So in terms of Trafford itself, why I set this up to do this? 228,000 residents in 95,000 households. We're in the middle quintile of deprivation. If, however, you map where the deprivation is in Trafford, it looks very similar to that stained glass window there, where we've got pockets of green and pockets of red. So this is kind of what we're dealing with. And that is the reason that we've gone down the route that we've gone down with some of the localities that we'll talk about in a bit. 8% white British, 2.83% job seekers allowance, and 80% say their health is good or very good. We are quite we're not an affluent borough, but we do all right. Educational attainment is consistently in the top 10 nationally across all ages. Life expectancy is broadly in line with the national average, but not the north-west average, so that's a bit of a difference. We're the safest place in Greater Manchester, and almost 70% of people are now at home. So in terms of what I'm going to talk about now and how we get into the community, we already said, people know us, our kind of mission has spread and people know that we exist, so they know how to contact us, and they know that they can, they know that we'll help them out, because ultimately, what the voluntary sector and what our partners are doing is trying to improve the borough, and that's kind of our mission as well. We just want things to get better, whether it be through increasing the kind of inward investment or additional support for working with strong families or other kind of things. These are all things that we'll pick up on. So, if I exit this now, I'm going to start to talk about some of the projects that we work on. Okay. So in terms of that's InfoTrafford, that's our kind of website. So, locality partnership. The locality partnership, Trafford was cleaved into 4 so that we could handle the different needs of different areas. So what we did was we did an initial analysis based on geography, based on demographics. How would we want to split Trafford up into these 4 areas? So we split up into 4, and these areas were defined. So we grouped them together based on wards. So we started to think about how we could aggregate the data that's in our IAS instance to ward level, which we managed to do. We kind of constructed these geographical units. And we were able then to start to profile those areas. So we've got this is a ward profile because it just looks a bit cleaner. But we go through, and we'll see all this sort of thing where all the demographic data comes together, education data, crime data, housing, our ACON stuff we've got going on there, voter turnout, deprivation. So we pulled all this together for localities. And I went and was invited, which is kind of quite a big deal. I was invited into the locality partnership. Now, our locality partnership boards consist of elected members, community representatives, local businesses, strategic partners that operate all within these sort of small areas. So these are people that have a genuine interest in their area. And what we found was that I was invited to these boards to give a bit of a data presentation. So we kind of spent a bit of time, myself and Paul and a few other people, we sat down and went through these profiles and we picked out this kind of presentation which would, we hoped, give people, because people that live or work in these areas, they think they know what's going on, but really we kind of don't. So what we did was we put together these presentations which were for me to kind of come in, parachute into this board and stand up in front of them and say, right, these are the needs in your area, these are the opportunities. So you'll see that what we kind of got going on, a lot of stuff taken straight out of the site. So straight out of InfoTrafford, we just took these maps, so give them a bit of an idea of the area, the demographics, deprivation. And what we kind of found was that people were really surprised. So one of the locality partnerships, they kind of came and I was there for halfway through. So halfway into their meeting, they asked me to give this data presentation. So they spent the first half defining their priorities and saying, okay, what we want to look at, we really want to look at our parks, we want to refurbish the pond in this area. And then I came and did a big thing and said, right, your kids are all fat, and we're all, people are dying younger because cancer rates are higher in your area. And suddenly, it really kind of turned their thinking on its head. So the second half was very much about, well, what do we do about this? Our priorities have suddenly changed with these to improve improve parts, which they kind of kept as a focus, because what they can do is, instead of just thinking, well, let's make the park look nicer, it becomes more about how do we get more people into our parks so that they can get fit, they can go for nature walks around the park, if we make it look nicer, then at least the outcomes are a bit more meaningful. So we were able to kind of go through a bit of school attendance. So this is one area which showed very clearly a split between how schools perform in different areas. So this kind of locality park there, which is the west area, really sort of crystallised for them. Our schools aren't as good as the rest of schools in Trafford. Now that's being sort of clear. These red ones, compared to sort of national, they're not actually that bad. They're kind of broadly in line, but it's just this kind of. This is kind of around about here where Roy Keane lives. So we've got all these you can kind of get a sense of the types of people that live in that area, and then we'll kind of go to other areas as well. So that's a really good example of us getting in and working with our partners and community, and just to give them an understanding of what's going on. in an area. So, what's next? Okay, so our mayor, every year the mayor has a charity and they raise a certain amount of money for something that might be, kind of society for blind people. But our mayor this year has decided that he wants to flood Trafford with defibrillators. So to do this, we kind of thought, right, well, rather than it just being a case of buy a defibrillator, put it in, buy a defibrillator, put it in, we would take a bit more of a kind of an intelligence-based approach to how we will do this. So we sort of set up this project group which had different partners. There's a charity, defib specialist charity. We've got North West Ambulance Service on board. And North West Ambulance Service said, right, well, we can't release this data, but we can give it you. So it's not open data, it's not the sort of thing we can give to the public. But certainly in terms of a project group and how we devise a strategy for how we start to get these defibrillators, we can let you have our all the call-outs over the course of a year for red ones. So this should be a map of all our postcode areas by the number of call-outs that North West Ambulance Service have for cardiac reasons. So whatever. Shall I refresh? So the kind of principle is there. Alright, okay, there we go. So what this does is this becomes quite that's quite a lot of impact. Now when you're showing it to people, and what we're saying is, rather than just kind of going and saying, where are we going to put these defibrillator units, we can say, well, we've got these these red areas here, so in particular, this is not a particularly deprived area, but it's the one with the highest number of call-outs, so that becomes a priority for us, where previously it hadn't been. We then cross-reference this with some footfall data that we've got, data that we've got around actual cardiovascular disease rates from public health, and start to think about where we want these things. So what we're able to then do, if I switch geography back to defibrillators, this is the location of all our defibrillators now. So there's been over 30 defib units put in the time that the project's been running for about 8 months now. And what we're able to do is use that data to say, to every business that we've got in those areas, let's write to them and say, look, there's a bit of an issue in your area with heart disease. What we might what we're trying to do is we're trying to do this, trying to put defib units in, would you be able to give us some money towards it? And it's been really successful, so we've been able to highlight those businesses from our business engagement database, which is separate to InfoTrafford, but still, because I'm kind of linked into everything, I can just draw on that data and use it to start to think about how we do stuff. So that's been really quite successful. And there's one down here in Altrincham, which saved a man's life, and that kind of what I'm not saying by any means that I have saved a man's life, but what we're doing is beginning to have a positive impact. Next up is, okay, so this is, but this is one of the things that we were asked to do was, we have aspirations to be quite a sporting borough. We are home to Old Trafford Football Ground, Old Trafford Cricket Ground, Manchester United train here, Sale Sharks train here, Manchester City train here. So we've kind of got these links that we should be fostering a little bit more. So what we started to do is we started to think about what data have we got that potentially could be affected by sport, or what could sport benefit in an area. So we pulled a load of data together. Antisocial behaviours, substance misuse, obesity, heart rates, physical activity rates, drew all together and came up with this coefficient. It's a little bit raw at the minute. It was kind of just a one-to-one relationship of all these indicators stuck together to come up with an overall, where do we think that sport would most benefit an area. So we kind of came up with this is our old Diesel map design, which I'm not really used to anymore. But the principle is that we're able to say, this particular area here, we consider is an area that sport could benefit. So we can bring something in. So we then dropped on top of that all our sporting assets, which is all this. Just bear with me. It's actually all our assets, which is why I have to be messy with it. One of the things we're struggling with is how to represent our assets on a map. do this. Okay, so you will see there that, you know, if I kind of come in here, then we can see that the area that needs almost, as you know, as we've defined it, we've got these assets already exist. So we've got a multi-use games pitch, you know, like a 3-4G pitch. We've got a high school with pitches that are available to us. We've got a leisure centre there. We've got a golf course. So all this stuff's there. So you know, there must be something that's missing. And this got taken to this kind of partnership area last week, and we said to them, look, you know, this is what's happening. You know, there's lots of issues here that sport potentially could benefit. And yet you've got all these facilities. You need to harness them more. And they kind of come over and go, you know, it's really interesting. We do need to do that. So hopefully there's something good will come from that. So, you know, and finally, I'm a member of an organisation called Open Data Manchester, which is looking at how we open up Manchester's data. One of the other members of that organisation is a lady called Farida Viz, who's big on two things. She's big on social media, and she's big on allotments. And one of the things that she has done is she's done an audit of every local authority's allotment website to say, you know, how good is allotments are kind of, they're growing. People are getting into allotments, but in particular, they're also getting into community growing spaces. But she audited every local authority's allotment page and decided, you know, that Trafford's wasn't very good. And in fairness, it wasn't. It wasn't very informative. You know, there's a list of allotments, and that's pretty much it. So we said, well, what we can do is we can take the data from the allotments people and map it, and then, you know, give a bit more information. So now what we've got is I've got a map of all Trafford's allotments. But what we can also do is, and I think later I was talking about feature cards. So we're starting to play around with feature cards and really kind of try and understand what they can offer us. So what we can do is we can change the indicator. So instead of just being the location of the allotment, we can look at total plots. So then all of a sudden, we know which of our allotments are bigger than others. We've also got, a bit further down, we've got a current rating list. Because this is one of her stipulations, is that people don't know how big the waiting lists are. Some of them are massive, as you can see, and some of them are tiny. And we've got areas where, you know, if somebody just phones that allotment and says, I want an allotment, and they say, well, that's going to be 4 years, they could just go down the road, and that's there, and there's a waiting list of 1 there. So it just allows people to kind of do stuff. But the thing as well with this is that if we click there, then we've got the feature card. So we draw all the data that's in there onto the feature card. So immediately somebody can just see, you know, oh, this is, you know, how do I get hold of, this is ST, the allotment holder. So they've got a phone number there. What we've also got there is we've got plan the allotment. So we'll be so we can link straight through, and then we've got plot number, so we can see, you know, we can see if there's a toilet on there. Or, you know, this is one of the things is that they've got Swedish composting toilets, or they've got normal toilets. And they've got water supply, they've got electricity. This is apparently important to people who have allotments. And the other thing that we're able to do is kind of get into by linking through to Google, we can get through to a Google directions page and also a street view. So somebody can have a bit of a look at the area of the allotment, and it just makes things a little bit nicer and more, a bit more contained for people to get a look at. So that's kind of 4 examples of some of the stuff that we're trying to do with the community to try and get them interested in data, you know, and all this sort of thing, how we can push it back out and really kind of interact with them, because there's a lot of good people out there that we don't necessarily make particularly good use of by getting them interested in this sort of thing. You know, we kind of everything that what we can do increases exponentially. That's probably it.
Thanks very much.
Right.
Sounds exhausting.